We know that when you know something, when you've practiced a belief long enough that you know it, you're going to realize it. And the reason that we are putting the emphasis on realize it is because it's going to be your interpretation. Have you had experiences where you just know something and almost as soon as you know it, it happens? Esther was watching a little piece of television this morning. She turned it on because she always likes to gloat about the weather where she is. So she likes to see the weather patterns, and then she likes to look at the weather where she is. And then she likes to acknowledge one more time, I'm in the very best possible weather place. So she was watching a little piece of something that was showing the weather. And then a piece came on of a man who is throwing a basketball at a Lakers game from center court. And he threw it right in and won his big prize of several $1,000s. And he said, I told the mascot right before I shot, I know this is going in. Now, he's a basketball coach, so he knows they don't always go in. But he knew that one was going to. He knew that one was going to. You have knowing about things, but you have to practice yourself into the vicinity of knowing. So we want to convince you that what comes to you isn't the basis that you then sift and sort and evaluate in order to gain your knowledge. In other words, we want to show you how you don't search the world or even your life experience for the facts that surround you, and then based upon those facts, achieve your knowing. Instead, we want you to understand that you achieve your knowing by finding a vibration of something that you desire and practicing it until it's easier and easier and easier to believe it. And once you practice something long enough that it's easy to believe, you will know it. And then the facts will back up your knowing. So we'll just leave it there for now. The facts always do back up your knowing. It's just that sometimes you know stuff you don't want to know. You know stuff you don't want to know. And you know why you know stuff you don't want to know? You've practiced thinking those thoughts of those things you don't want to know. Now we know that you want to say to us, but it's all around. Esther has said that to us on many occasions through the years. But Abraham, it's true. It's true, and therefore I believe it deserves my attention. And we say, we would add something to that if we were standing in your physical shoes. If it's true and you like it, give it your undivided attention. But if it's true and you don't want it, then why practice the vibration of something that someone else has made true by their attention to it? Why practice that reality into your realization? You're sort of kind of getting this, aren't you? You create your own reality, and you do it because you think. But you have control of what you think. But most of you don't really exercise control of what you think because you believe that you owe your attention to it if it's in front of you. We've enjoyed this interaction immensely. We know this has been a very brief seminar, but we have nothing more for you. There just is not anything more. Everything else that happens this day will just be a longer version of that. You know that you are more than these physical bodies that you see, that you are source energy extended out here on this leading edge, and that everything that is non-physical is extended out here on this leading edge with you, and that when you want something, those of us who are non-physically focused are out here focused upon your desire. And do you know that you could not ever feel a negative emotion if it weren't for two facts? We're focused on what you want, and you're not. If you would take either of those facts out of the equation, you would never feel negative emotion. If we were not focused upon what you want, if we were not focused from the framework of who you are, then in your not being focused there, you would not feel any negative emotion because there would be no contradictory energy. So, two things. We're focused upon who you really are, all that you've evolved to, and what you want, and you're not. So, we just have to give it to you very clearly here. We have to give it to you like it is. We're not going to change. We're not going to stop focusing upon what you want. So if you want to feel good, We're not going to lower our vibrational expectation to your doubt. It'd make you feel better if we would, but we won't. Because we can't. Because we're standing in the vibrational frequency of all that you've evolved to. And when you expand, we're there. So you really have no choice. That's weird, isn't it? You create your own reality, but you have no choice. You create your own reality, but you have no choice if you want to feel good, other than to find somehow, some way to raise your frequency to match that of your vibrational desire, of the vibration of who you really are. We're eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. We know that many of you have been listening to us for a long while, so you've been hearing us give our explanation of how you fit into the bigger scheme of things. I'm going to give it to you briefly, and then we're going to open it for conversation about anything that you want. You were source energy before you came into this physical body, and the larger part of you still is. The part of you that's here in this physical body is exploring contrast, knowing what you don't want and knowing what you do want, and constantly sending rockets of desire or rockets of expansion that the larger part of you is accomplishing, is achieving. And that's why you can feel emotion, because a part of you is in a high frequency, and if the rest of you isn't, you're going to feel the discord, and that's what negative emotion is. When you feel elation, when you feel passion, when you feel turned in, tapped in, turned on, when you feel excited or happy, when you're in love or feeling appreciation, your vibration is at the same frequency of that source within you. There's no separation between that which is you and that which is us. We're all blowing and flowing right here in this physical life experience, and that's when you put the ball in the hoop. When you're so clear-minded, that's when your agility is at its highest. That's when your comprehension is at its highest. That's when your moving in and out of your life experience is at its best. That's when you're the wittiest. That's when you're the funniest. That's when you're the clearest. That's when you feel the best. That's when you are being who you really are. When you feel negative emotion, no big deal, but all it means is temporarily you're focused probably on some fact, some reality that doesn't measure up to what you want. But isn't it always going to be that way to some extent? Aren't you always going to be expanding into a new idea? Can you go through a day? Can you go through an hour in a day? Can you go through any time at all without your exposure to life causing you to realize that you want a little bit more economy in your gasoline consumption, a little bit more convenience as you move about? Esther would like a mirror in her room that she can see in. She's walking all around her sleeping room this morning, and the only mirror is in the bathroom, and she thought, I want another mirror. It probably won't be there today because she doesn't believe that it will be there today. She does not yet believe that she has the power to manifest instantaneously. She's still allowing the fairies of the universe to orchestrate. She still accepts that there is a buffer of time between her acknowledging of a desire and her bringing herself into vibrational alignment of it. So if Esther beats the drum of the inconvenience of this hotel, if Esther beats the drum of the inconvenience of this hotel, the next hotel that is ordinarily really convenient can't be for her. When the rooms are chosen, she will not be given the room she desires. When the girl who brings her breakfast is chosen, she won't be the one Esther desires. She will forget the milk. She will. She will be very nice when she brings the milk 35 minutes later. In other words, when you face reality and you practice the thought of that reality. So what happens when something comes to you that isn't the way you want it to be? What do you do about it? You observe it. You usually comment to someone about it. But where do you leave it? That's the question that we are really putting to the floor today. Where do you leave it? Where do you leave it when something unwanted happens to you? Where do you leave it? Do you observe it? Take the hit of it? Offer your complaint and then leave it right there? Leave it right there in that practiced place? Because if that's where you leave it, then it has to show itself to you every chance it gets. Law of attraction will make sure there are plenty of chances. That's just the way your vibrational patterning is, you see. So when we say, as Seth said first, you create your own reality, what we are saying is you offer a vibration that you have practiced. Sometimes you think, well, this is just the way it is. And we say, but it isn't the way it has to be. It's the way it is because it's the way it's been. And because it's the way it's been, it's the way you've been thinking about it. And because it's the way it's been and it's the way you've been thinking about it, it's the way it is. And it's probably the way it's going to continue to be because that's the vibrational patterning you've got going on. But it does not have to be that way. Not one thing in this world has to remain as it is. Your Congress does not have to remain in quagmire. But where was your last thought on that subject? Where was your last thought on that? Where was the last thing that you thought about that? Where did you leave it? And you might say, well, I feel powerless about doing anything about that. But Esther certainly she cannot say that she feels powerless about her glass of milk. Certainly she cannot feel powerless about something like that. And neither can you. And she cannot feel powerless about her Congress either. She has the ability to think different thoughts than she has been thinking. And so do you. So do you face reality or do you create reality? Do you observe what's happening to you or are you creating what's happening to you? So what we're really talking about is getting out ahead of it vibrationally. Because what's manifesting is old news in terms of vibration. And vibration is where it is all at, you see. So if you get out ahead vibrationally, if you begin thinking about what's coming, if you begin thinking about how you want to feel, if you begin thinking about emotion rather than the fact, if you begin caring about how you feel, if you begin choosing your thoughts based upon how they feel, which means how they resonate with the higher perspective that you hold. You see, as you weigh the pros and the cons, as you know what you don't want and therefore know what you do want, the larger part of you gives undivided attention to what you do want. And that vortex, that vibrational reality, begins moving in precision with your statement of desire. Now, we acknowledge that it may take you a little while to get up to speed with that because it's not your pattern. Your pattern is something different. But once you've launched it, and once your inner being or the source within you has become the vibrational equivalent of it, which is immediately, then you now have emotion that will let you know in every moment where you stand in your grid, where your grid is vibrationally in relationship to what you want. Do you understand that? Let's talk about anything that is important to you. Nothing is off limits. You are ready for us. So much to talk about. This is going to be a magnificent day. Relax. We want you to relax and be easy and trust that no matter what you've come to talk about will be addressed fully. It's our promise to you. We can feel everything that you want. We know everything that is important to you. Everything that you want to talk about, we will discuss fully. It's up to you to get into a vibrational place where you will receive it fully. Some of you will not actually sit in the chair. Many of you will. We're going to move faster through this crowd today than we usually do. We're going to take shorter amount of time on questions. Don't sit here and expect to be here for 15 or 20 or 30 minutes. We're going to take shorter segments so that more people will get in the chair. There's going to be continuity to this conversation. You're going to marvel at the way it unfolds. And it's going to be great fun. Start right here.